When you spend enough time documenting the darker corners of the metaverse, you think you've seen the limit of online malice. You get used to the casual toxicity, the edgy jokes, and the everyday trolls. But occasionally, you cross paths with an individual whose behavior isn't just disruptive. It's actively dangerous. For me, that realization came when I crossed paths with a vrchat user known online as Pickpocket. I didn't just hear about Pickpocket through community rumors. I watched the behavior unfold. Here was a grown adult, operating in a space heavily populated by younger users, openly and relentlessly harassing minors. But the harassment was only the surface. As I looked deeper into the community surrounding him, the situation became significantly worse. Pickpocket operated under a completely warped moral compass, one that viewed the weaponization of severe racial slurs not as a violation of basic human decency, but as a cheap punchline for online entertainment. This toxic ideology wasn't confined to a virtual reality avatar. It extended into private Discord servers he frequented and helped foster. These servers were a breeding ground for extreme content, spaces where graphic gore, explicit racism, and highly disturbing memes were posted openly. There were no digital guardrails, no age verification, and no protection. Minors who were drawn into his orbit were exposed directly to this imagery, systematically desensitizing them to violence and hate under the guise of internet culture. When users tried to fight back using the platform's official safety tools, they hit a brick wall. Pickpocket treated account bans not as a deterrent, but as a minor inconvenience. Every time an account was terminated, he would simply spin up a new alternative account, bypass the restrictions, and immediately return to the exact same public instances to resume his targeted harassment campaigns. The absolute lack of an internal moral compass meant that the real-world consequences of his actions never registered. To Pickpocket, the people behind the headsets weren't human beings. They were content. They were a means to generate reactions, clout, and easy views as an online bully. But online abuse has devastating physical world consequences. The human brain cannot easily distinguish between a physical threat and a highly immersive virtual one. Because of the relentless, multi-account stalking and psychological manipulation led by Pickpocket, multiple victims were pushed past their breaking points. The severe stress and isolation caused by his campaigns drove several vulnerable individuals to engage in severe self-harm. Tragically, for one target, the continuous, inescapable influx of abuse became too much to bear, and they ultimately ended their own life. Pickpocket's trajectory from a standard online bully to a catalyst for real-world tragedy is a case study in why digital lawlessness cannot be ignored. When individuals weaponize anonymity to systematically destroy the mental well-being of minors and vulnerable users for the sake of an online audience, they aren't just breaking a platform's terms of service. They are leaving behind a trail of irreversible human wreckage, entirely unbothered by the lives they break along the way. When we look at the wreckage left behind by digital bullies, trolls, and clout chasers, it is easy to feel a sense of profound defeat. It feels like the worst elements of human nature have permanently colonized the digital frontier. We see individuals weaponizing virtual reality to target the vulnerable, while self-styled vigilantes turn the fallout into a profitable entertainment genre. But the story of virtual reality doesn't have to end here. We are at a critical crossroads. The spaces we inhabit online are built on code, but they are defined by culture. And just as a toxic culture can be manufactured, it can also be dismantled. As a community, we have the collective power to change the game going forward, to shift the landscape from a playground of exploitation into a sanctuary of true connection. But doing that requires more than passive hope. It requires a fundamental shift in how we define accountability. First, we must change what we consume. The ultimate currency of the online bully isn't attention, it's audience. Clout chasers only chase clout because we give it to them. When we click on a video exposing a vulnerable person's distress, when we share a clip of an aggressive interrogation, or when we engage with creators who rely on recycled trauma for views, we are funding the machine. Accountability starts with starving the beast. We must choose to collectively disengage from content that treats human suffering as a spectacle, making toxicity unprofitable. Second, we must demand systemic reform from the platforms themselves. For too long, companies have relied on reactive, easily bypassed moderation tools. A simple account ban means nothing to a dedicated harasser who can spin up an alternative account in minutes. As a unified community, our voices carry economic weight. We must demand strict, hardware-level bans for severe offenses, more robust privacy controls for users, and transparent, professional moderation teams that work with law enforcement rather than letting untrained internet vigilantes handle sensitive safeguarding issues. Finally, we must redefine what it means to protect one another inside the headset. True community safety isn't loud, and it doesn't come with an intro video or ad breaks. It looks like the quiet, consistent work of building safe digital spaces. It looks like setting hard boundaries against casual hatred, supporting those who are targeted, and utilizing platform reporting tools effectively without making a scene. It means lifting up voices like those who prioritize genuine human welfare over algorithmic metrics to show that digital responsibility is possible. Virtual reality was built to expand the boundaries of our world, not to diminish our humanity. The technology will continue to evolve, but the moral compass of these spaces belongs entirely to us. By choosing empathy over entertainment, demanding systemic action over performative drama, and refusing to look away from real-world harm, we can reclaim the metaverse. Who are we when no one is watching? It's time we give an answer we can finally be proud of.